Hi everyone, welcome to my final presentation. So I'm going to just briefly tell you here what I'm going to do with my webcam video of me, and then I'll turn that off for the rest of the presentation. I'm going to cover the old course briefly, and I'm going to look at the new course. I'm going to look at the active learning strategies that I applied in one module, and in particular one of them, an assessment activity that is a peer review, and that gets into my new assessment strategy. And in activity 3 of my module, I'm going to talk about how I integrated the built-in Kaltura video tool into another kind of peer review process, which is also an active learning strategy. And then I'll wrap up with some lessons learned. Big snow day here, so I'm behind. I was behind to begin with, and so I'm behind even more. Let's begin. So this is the old course we inherited. This is the Learning Modules page. My revised module doesn't fit neatly into any one of these, though it's named after this one here. It kind of does something different. This inherited faculty development course was a little text heavy. It was designed to be I think it was 2 weeks per module. You can see here in this module 2, there's an overview. They have you look at some exemplar courses. There's nothing wrong with it. It's great. Reconceptualize, discussion-based, and then get into some written planning, designing, drafting assignments, and then some build-it assignments, which I like. But we needed to make some changes. We needed to integrate Mason material into this course from another system. So we're really going off in a new direction. We took some of the content we could and needed to shorten it, and I'll talk more about that. Here we are at the new course, Online Course Development Initiative Institute. Sorry, it's very new. We are beta testing it. We are piloting it for the first time in a month or so. That we being about 6 of us instructional designers. We're moving from a one-on-one support model to a workshop course cohort model. So we'll work with groups of faculty of 8 to 15 in cohorts that go through this Online Course Development Institute. There's a stipend involved. There's some requirements that they complete the institute and that they work with us in an ad hoc way after the institute's over. So the institute, or course as I'll probably refer to it more often, is meant to replace what we often did with them over a 9-month period. Sometimes 9 months, sometimes 6, sometimes they'd come to us with only a month or 2. So it's our process for getting them started to convert a syllabus to an online course. So without much more to say there, let me just jump in and look at weekly modules. This is kind of the way we're looking at organizing it, and still just going to have our first meeting next week. Here's the week I've been working on, and you can see the way we're using Blackboard Learn 9 here, using the Learning Modules tool to organize the content for each module, and that produces this table of contents here. And I'm in student view mode, so these links are active. I may have to flip back to instructor mode. So here's a module, just the introductory module here. The first active learning strategy involves exploring concepts. This is the idea of just kind of mapping their course, kind of getting them started to think about revising learning objectives and aligning that with their learning activities and assessments. So well before that, we want to just kind of say, so what's the purpose of your course? We know you got your course description. Often we know course descriptions are often mandated, can't be changed, or the course is being used and taught in a different way, so they may not match that. You're redesigning this course. What is it really about? What are the main elements? And then we may use a kind of a metaphor activity to say, plot your content, rethink it, reconceptualize it based on some metaphor appropriate to your discipline or that you like. Have some examples of that. So that's one active learning strategy, and then that would take place, that would be uploaded to a forum, a discussion forum, and we'd look at it, a more traditional way of doing that. The second activity is an active learning strategy, and that is to have them use this self and peer assessment tool that's built into Blackboard, and which I'll show you in detail shortly. That requires using the tool itself. The third active learning strategy involved is to have them work on planning the course out on a table or a matrix divided into 3 columns where they'll plot out their learning objectives and do the alignment process that is described in a handout in materials that are listed here as well. And then they'll produce they'll take that and upload the typically probably a row of content that they've used to show their work, and use a video tool to record and annotate that work, probably done in Word, and then upload that for peer review that way. So that's kind of an overview of it and the way it would look from just the student view here. I'm probably going to be best off working now in instructor mode, and that turns the hyperlinks off here. I can probably get rid of this menu for the time being, and so you can see what I have here. So the very first one I talked about the active learning strategies in general, assessment strategy, peer review. So the very first peer review one, and that was unique to me, and I've already used that as part of our third assignment for this OLC, and that is using the self and peer assessment tool. So I've been struggling with that still. It's new to me, have never used it before. I'm trying to figure out how it would work, and then to use it kind of differently has been a bit of a challenge for me, in addition to building the course itself at the same time. So it's really had me struggling, but I've got what's called an item here in Blackboard of content, and I should bring up the this course planning matrix I've been talking a bit about. So this is really the visual tool to use, simple, in which you put your learning outcome in the first column, and then later you align it with these 2 columns here. Minimal instructions right here, but more within the course itself. I have a video demonstration from another university. We'll probably We'll probably need to do a video overview of this, like I'm doing now, in much more detail as well, to help faculty be able to just click on this assignment activity and pull up this sheet and be able to do what is needed to be done. So in the first activity 1, they filled these in, and then we looked at them, and they had a little peer review of those. And in the second activity, in the activity 2, they did this as the student learning outcomes, and then in activity 3, they're going to fill in this part. Once we get the student learning outcomes really strong and well written, then we can move on to do that is the idea. And in both cases, we have a peer review. In activity 2, they're using the standard peer review, or they're using the peer review tool, the self and peer review assessment tool that kind of steps them through it. And in the activity 3, when they actually go to map this part to their student learning outcomes, they're using a more standard discussion tool that they've uploaded this completed, maybe a row here, completed row, and take a video of it. They could just type, if this was completed here, we could create a video like I'm doing at this point, and then just save that and upload it using Kaltura, so it would have their explanation and a visual of their work, and then peers can come in and use whatever tool they want, text, audio, or video, to give them feedback on it. So there's that tool, and then this we're still talking about activity 2, a set of instructions for how to conduct that writing of strong learning outcomes. and to do the peer evaluation. So as I show you this, the content on the screen for each item is not complete yet. I've got a lot to work out, and I need to work out how much actually sits on the screen and how much will sit in a document or set of instructions that I just have them download. My team will, of course, make sure I keep it simple and clean, and so we'll get that right. Activity 2 goes from the instructions and getting them kind of started with the matrix to the actual part where they've completed their student learning outcome, or multiple ones, and now it's time to submit them for the self and peer assessment. Actually, I'm now thinking it's just going to be a peer assessment to keep it even simpler. So I need to remove this self-evaluate. I guess I need to remove the self up there. Let me show you what that looks like before I do. You see there's a submission date. So the first step is to submit your student learning outcome. So rewrite them, do some reading, some materials we present, then rewrite them. Or maybe they were good to begin with, and submit them to this to Blackboard for eventual evaluation. Evaluation takes place at a later time. So two-step process there. Submit them, answer some questions, as you'll see, and then get them evaluated and by others, and you evaluate one. So I had to switch to a student preview view, and this is what a user would see, that their assessment was done, and they could come in here after it's been submitted and see that they have, this is the user, they could look at their own submission, and here's the way it would look. Question 1 of 2. Question 1, here was the submission answer. So to the question of paste 1 or 2 of your SLOs in, here it is. This is an example one. Identify best practices for using Web 2.0 tools in various sectors of education. And then an explanation, just in text here. So the person evaluating them would come in and say, based on criteria 1, so now for the evaluation part, you set up criteria. And in this case, I just have 2 to keep it simple. And this was the one, as it's highlighted here, that's the criteria. Basically discuss how the SLO met the criteria of being specific and measurable. And then criteria 2, does the SLO target an appropriate Bloom's level outcome, cognitive level? And so you could type some feedback in there for the person you're reviewing. You'd save them, move on to the next question, and eventually, I believe, submit the whole thing. I didn't talk about when I do, this is a separate part of creating questions. The initial thing for a submission is called a question. You can prepare a model response for them to look at while they're preparing their question, answering that question. And this was just a sample I put in there of, to help them think through creating an effective or strong learning outcome. You'll see as I compare it to the other kind of peer review, the more standard traditional one where they just post to a discussion forum, that has a submission and an evaluation period too. So this one just kind of structures it a little more. I think once we get it understood and get it worked out in my head, I think it could be very much easier than I'm presenting it to be. So into week 3 again, and to the final piece where I'm talking about integrating the media element, and at the same time just kind of briefly showing you how the other type of peer review would go. In this activity 3, complete the course planning matrix. Well, I've showed you that planning matrix. Now they need to complete the rest of it, the other 2 columns that help them align that student learning outcome to their activities and the assessments. Have some really nice videos that demonstrate that for a hybrid course. Dr. Morton from University of Waterloo, I think it is, Canada. Dr. D. Fink has some materials that help you plan a course online or in class, and to provide some examples of course planning matrices that have been done. But the real trick is showing them how to do that, and I'll probably have to create a video for that. Support for the building of Kaltura videos here or wherever it needs to be located in this course. And then finally, here's the Activity 3 peer review part. This is the basic, I think, description of the activity right out here anyway, right? Once they've done all the hard work of actually doing the alignment, the triple alignment of outcomes to assessments to learning objectives, that's done and it's on paper. It's on the course planning matrix, a digital version of it. Now it's just time to record a video description of it, right? And then to click this link and to go into Blackboard's discussion board and just create a thread and add that video to the thread. Kaltura lets you embed it right in there, so it looks like this. And number 3, review your assigned instructions to review 2 of your peers and how to do that. And finally, the dates. As you can see here, I now realize that I might want to change this to submission date to kind of match the other peer review process. And this would be peer evaluation date to match these processes, the statements that are put up here. Blackboard discussion forum, right? Instructions again on this screen perhaps. And they come in, create a thread, and in Blackboard you go to the Kaltura Media tool, and you can either record on the fly, so that's kind of the last piece here for my presentation related to the content. Record on the fly using record your screen. That may fail on my computer. It requires a Java and Flash plugin that may not be working on my Mac right now. Or I can upload media that I created using any other tool that I saved as an MP4. And our Kaltura, built-in Kaltura, lets you manage it. It'll upload it to your repository. It'll sit in this list of yours. This is all my videos, and then I can just preview the ones I want, and when I'm ready, just select it, and it will see if I want to add the metadata with it, and it sticks it right in there, ready to play. So this is also showing faculty how to use the video tools and a practical application of that. So that's a post by the submission post, and then folks can come back in and evaluate it by replying to the initial post. So by way of lessons learned, I obviously need time to prepare properly and test the self and peer tool. It was just tricky enough, had enough complication that it was hard to quickly do it and see a result, because it had a lot of time. It was timed. You had to set times for the submission and the evaluation. It wasn't one of those things you could practice with easily and get a result, because you needed more than one person to produce material to actually test it out. So that was tricky. In the spirit of that, active learning involves multiple steps. There's many interacting parts throughout this course, and that's become a lot more work than I thought it would when I was at the design phase. As I'm getting into the details of it right now, I'm finding there's a lot more decisions to make about where to put instructions out on the outer face of Blackboard or tucked into a nice sheet, and getting rid of all this and just download this file and read it. Now, as the more active learning I have built into this module, the more activity there is, the more instructions to read. That could become a problem. So I have to evaluate that. I think I talked about the benefits of using Kaltura. Accessibility, I didn't catch that part. One of the reasons we like using Kaltura, because it's built into the course, I think we pay good money for that. It has a repository that you can use from course to course, so whatever you upload to your My Media collection, you can repurpose in other courses and in other ways. The player is accessible. Blackboard is accessible. The movie that you upload can be made accessible. We have a very, very easy process where when you upload it, if you put a tag, you tag that video you upload with a CC tag, the assistive technology folks will come in, and while you're sleeping, they will caption it for you. So you can't get it any more easier for faculty to get them to make their content accessible. In addition to any kind of transcript that people often are advised to use when they record, to provide that text transcript as part of the course to also meet accessibility purposes, or for people who just like to have that text file to read over. So I'm going to stop there. I look forward to to your questions. I know I wasn't completely clear in this last minute final project, so please ask me for clarification about anything that interests you, and I look forward to looking at your presentations and commenting on those.